Hello! Today I'm very excited to talk about my favorite video game of all time. And this is going to be my love letter to Suikoden 2. If my voice sounds funny, it's because I recently just got over being sick, so if that happens, that's what that is. But yeah, so I'm excited to talk about Suikoden 2 because it is my favorite video game ever since I was a kid. I love Suikoden 2 so much. It is a childhood favorite of mine. It's a game that honestly I replay at least like once a year. And within the last week, I replayed it twice. Once on the original PlayStation, and then the second time was through the remaster that came out. Oh man, what a time to be a Suikoden fan right now. So not only did we get the Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster, there's a mobile game, Starleap, that was announced, and I'm actually really excited for that because first off, they showed my boy Flick. I love Flick. He's one of my favorite characters in the entire series. But also, there's a Suikoden 2 anime that's going to be coming out, and I'm so excited. That's like childhood fulfillment right there. Because the closest thing we got to like any anime form of Suikoden 2 was the Suikoden stuff. I'm truly excited. I really am. Like, this is a wonderful time for me as a fan, and yeah, and I'm just so excited to talk about Suikoden 2 for an extended period of time in this love letter. I just realized my hair is wild today. What is happening? Whatever. My hair never wants to cooperate with me anyway, so Suikoden 2. I have the disc. I don't have the cover image, which, yeah, it kind of sucks, but that's okay. But Suikoden 2, my favorite video game. I played it when I was young, and I remember my exposure to the Suikoden series because I remember being at my grandma's, and my cousin and my brother, who are 8 and 9 years older than me, were playing Suikoden 2 on the TV, and I just remembered like being so enamored with how it looked. I don't know how to explain it. It was so cool seeing the game, and then my brother found Suikoden 1 in a store, bought it, and then we played that. And I liked Suikoden 1, don't get me wrong, but honestly, I only play Suikoden 1 just to get the bonus stuff to transfer to Suikoden 2. And yeah, and so in the remaster, you're able to do the same thing. You can transfer your save data to Suikoden 2, which is honestly the prime way to do it. But I've been a fan of the series ever since I was a kid. I've played all of the mainline games. I have 3, I have 4, I have 5. 1 is somewhere in my parents' place. I have no idea where it is, but it's somewhere there. But Suikoden 2, over the years, has just always held a very special place in my heart because it is a game that no matter how many times I've played it, like I said, I replayed Suikoden 2 literally twice within the last week. It really paid being sick, I guess. But it's a game that every time I go visit it again, it's like visiting old friends. The story will always constantly get to me, and I always learn something new. Listen, Suikoden 2 has been out for many years, and sure, could I have discovered secrets that have been in the game for that long? Yes, but I'm discovering by myself, and so I'll discuss that in a bit. But I just love, just every time I replay Suikoden 2, I feel like I am learning something new. So, and also, let me just say, throughout this video, you are going to see footage of gameplay that has both the old PlayStation 1 graphics and the remaster, because I played both within a week. Yeah, Suikoden 2. What are things I can say about this game that haven't really been said already? Because it is a cult classic. So many people who played JRPGs growing up, or JRPGs on PlayStation 1, will typically regale Suikoden 2 as the best of the best. And personally, I truly love this game, and to me it's a masterpiece. But I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm not going to assume it is going to be everyone's cup of tea. And so I want people to calm the fuck down. Let me just say, this video isn't intended to be like a review necessarily. I am going to talk about the things I love, obviously, but I'm also going to talk about the things I don't really like that much. Because other than people, I feel like it's important to be able to criticize the media that you like. And so, or criticize media that you love, because that means you care about it, that you are hoping that it becomes a better product, right? Or it can be seen as a better product. I just realized there's like game hints number on here with 95 cents a minute. Ain't no one got money for that. But yeah, Suikoden 2 is a game that follows our hero. His canon name is Ryo. I will name him Ryo every fucking time I play, because I just like having the canon name for the characters. So it follows Ryo and his best friend Joey. They're part of this youth brigade in Highland, which is this more like militant European kind of style of country. But they're super excited because they're like, oh, we get to go back to our town. We go back to Kiaro town. And man, the beginning starts off strong. Something I miss about old school RPGs, I feel like, not all old like PlayStation 1 RPGs did this, but I feel like a lot of the ones that I typically enjoyed start off very strong. They start off so strong. Like Final Fantasy 7 bombing mission, Parasite Eve opera opera mission. This one in Suikoden 2, your camp gets fucking ambushed and destroyed. And it's sad because like you can walk around and talk to like the other like youth brigade. Remember, they're youth brigade, so they're young, they're kids essentially, they're like teens. And you're talking to them and all of them are so excited. They're like, yay, we get to go back to town. I can't wait to see my parents, or I can't wait to see my family again. And then they get ambushed and most of them get murdered. Most meaning all of them get murdered except for you and your bestie Joey. And oh man, this sequence is really cool because it highlights the fact that Joey is actually really smart. He is a really intelligent guy. Joey is also a nobleman's kid. Like he is a rich kid, but he doesn't act like a rich kid, if that makes sense. But yeah, we get to see Joey actually kind of be a little bit smart here, where he's just like, wait, let's not escape this way because they know this is the only way for us to escape. Let's go back and tell Captain Roud. And you go back and you see Captain Roud and motherfucking Luca Blight. Oh my god. Okay, Luca Blight is one of those villains that really hold up. Like, he holds up. And I just love Luca Blight so much as a villain. Like, I love to hate the guy, you know what I mean? Because he is just such a good epitome of like, yeah, you could give someone a tragic backstory, but if they're still an asshole and they own that, and they own being an asshole, then they're a fucking fun villain. Like, we don't get a lot of this because like so many people have villains that they want a lot of nuance, but they're like, oh, here's this reason, and like it's to really humanize this character, and like that's great and all. Do not get me wrong. I think it's cool that like villains can be very multifaceted and very three-dimensional, but Luca Blight has the backstory and everything, and he's still like, I'm gonna kill everyone. I don't give a flying fuck. I'm gonna murder all of you. And it's like, holy shit, this motherfucker's crazy. And he is crazy. He's sociopathic, 100%. Bro, like, he is so fun. Like, he is such a fun villain to see, but he's also terrifying. And so we see him and we fight these troops, and then Joey's like, oh, we gotta make a fucking run for it, duh. So you, like, Ryo and Joey, we make a run for it, and they're stopped at a cliff. And this is where Joey's just like, bro, we gotta jump. We have no chance. We gotta jump. And now, this is the cool thing. So this is something that might be a secret for some people, but if you've been a fan like me, this is something that you might know about already. And so this beginning fight that you fight these Highland troops, you can trigger this fight over and over and over and over again. You don't have to jump with Joey, but you're just gonna keep fighting. And it's not like, dude, it's an act of futility at that point. But the thing is that with this fight, if you do it 108 times, because Suikoden is based off of Water Margin, which is this old Chinese tale, old Chinese novels, which has 108 bandits band together to go against an oppressive kingdom, empire. And that's Suikoden. Like, you could recruit 108 stars, and so that's why the number 108 is very important. So you don't have to do this, right? Because you could go about it as normal and you get the normal opening sequence. I am insane a little bit, and with the remaster I decided to do the 108 battles. What do you get from doing this? It's honestly nothing substantial. You could literally just look it up on YouTube, but you get the opening in color, and I'll just show you what I mean by that. Now, getting the colored opening does not constitute in anything, really. Rio and Joey are a lot stronger because you fought 108 fucking squads. And you're probably gonna be well prepped on medicine for the majority of the game. And yeah, like there's nothing super substantial about doing this. There's not like, oh, like not even in the remaster, you don't get an achievement for this, which I thought you would. I thought you were gonna get an achievement, you don't. But doing this is just a fun little Easter egg if you want to dedicate the time to it. Would I personally have tell people to do it? No. Don't do this. It's not worth it. It really isn't worth it, in my opinion. But you jump, opening credits, and then you're found by Victor. Victor is a character who was in Suikoden 1, and he's just like, you got washed up, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Your friend ran away when we found him. And we also get introduced to my best boy, my favorite boy, Flick. Ah, man, Flick. Blue Lightning Flick. Love him. Flick is Victor's mercenary buddy. They've been mercenary buddies for a hot minute. They were both in Suikoden 1. And Flick, I love a lot. I like his whole character. I love his growth. And he's a character that I truly have always liked since I was a kid and has just persisted since. And I'm glad we get to see him again in remaster glory, as well as he's in Starleap, and so is Victor. But you know, I don't care about Victor that much. I like Victor. Okay, I like Victor, but between Victor and Flick, I'm choosing Flick. You know what I mean? Like, I like Victor. I like his story. I like a lot of the stuff that he brings to the table and everything like that. I didn't get this in the remaster because I blitzed through Suikoden 1 just to get to Suikoden 2. But in the original PlayStation footage, if you guys see it, the things that come from transferring your save data is character levels are higher if they are high by the end of the game. Their weapon sharpness is also higher if you sharpen their weapons at the end of the game. And depending on the character, I think only 2 characters really have their equipment carryover, or some equipment carryover. One I'll get to later, the other one's Humphrey, who is a wonderful character. I love Humphrey so much. If you give him the wind spun armor in Suikoden 1, he'll have it in Suikoden 2, and it's like one of the best armors in the game. You're like, not that you could take the armor off of him in Suikoden 2, but you wouldn't want to. Like, it's literally the best armor for him. You get taken to Victor's mercenary camp. You pretty much work for them as a servant. But this is nice, and my god, this is the fun thing about Suikoden. Anytime I play Suikoden 2 especially, it's like, once I hear any song, I go crazy. I go fucking feral, I guess. Because I love the soundtrack so much. I love the soundtrack so much. It's so good. We're at the mercenary camp. We work there. Joey comes to get us. This is a very abridged telling of the sequences of the game, because I'm not going to spoil everything because I don't want to. Because this game's story is literally so good and people have the opportunity to play it, and so I'm not gonna spoil everything here, but I just want to get kind of talk about it. We'll have we get to see Joey, we try to break out, it doesn't break out, Joey gets captured with us, but then we break out at night, and then we go to Ryu village first. We see the traveling performers, Rina, Ellie and Bolgan. They are siblings who are performers together. We travel with them up north. We go to the mountain. We fight a mist monster that can become a fucking sexy mist monster. It's this whole thing. But the thing is, so in this mountain, I spent a lot of time in this mountain because I wanted to farm for double beat runes or double jab runes in the remaster. They renamed it to double jab. And this rune is really, really, really strong, and they are very, very rare. You have to fight these bunnies. You have to fucking hunt these bunnies and fight so many of them, because each one is like a 2% chance to get the rune, but 2% does not mean a lot. I was farming these bunnies for a hot minute when I was playing the original. In the remaster, I only wanted like 2. I only wanted like 2. And so I got 2, and I moved on. You get to Kiaro Town and you get to meet your adopted big sister, Nanami. Oh my god, Nanami. My heart. I love Nanami so much. She is such a fun character. You get to see your sister, and if you know, also get to recruit Muku Muku, the flying squirrel. I love the flying squirrels in this game. The flying squirrels are among some of my favorites because they're just so cute. And I didn't know, so this is something I learned during my playthrough of the remaster. I didn't know that one of the squirrels that you can get can equip runes and actually use them properly. Like, what? They have to be blue, but like, what do you mean? I never knew that. I never knew that. In my many years of playing this game annually, I did not know this motherfucking squirrel could equip a rune. Not Muku Muku, but his brother, his teammate, Maku Maku. When you get back to town, you are also captured again because you are branded as a traitor. Oh shit, we are called spies for the city-state. Where's the city-state? The city-state was where Victor's mercenary camp resides in. It's the country. I believe it's called the city-state of Joustin, formally, I think that's what it's called. And we're branded as spies and all this stuff, and we're gonna get executed because the whole ambush thing was they're saying, oh, city-state ambushed us, the city-state ambushed us, when we know it's our own people. The Highland Army ambushed the Highland Youth Brigade, and it's to incite the war. It's to incite the war because there was a peace treaty that was signed, but then Lucablad's like, fuck that. Fuck that, I want to kill. So we get saved by Victor and Flick, we go back to the mercenary camp, and this is when the story really starts to expand because we are told hey, go find people to join us to fight against the Highland Army. And so this is the main meat of the game, and we get to go recruit people. And the whole a big chunk of the game, big chunk of the series, is trying to find characters to fill up the 108 stars of Destiny. I've replayed this game so many times that I do not need a guide. I don't need a guide to recruit the characters or know how or when. Actually, sometimes when, because I get things mixed up, but I don't know. I know who and where. It's so fun. It's so fun because you start getting a bunch more characters. You get a plethora of colorful people in this game. My beginning team I typically go with is because you're stuck with Joey and Nanami for the majority of the beginning, which is fine because they're really viable. I really like Kinnison for what he brings to the table at the beginning. He's not that good later on in the game. Shiro, his wolf dog friend. I love Shiro. I love wolves, so it just works out. And then I typically like to have Millie with me, just because Bonaparte's kind of funny looking. There's quite a bit of characters you can get at the beginning. And now, if you played the original PlayStation and you've been a fan for a while, you know about the Matilda border glitch. You can travel around quite a bit of ways, and there's a border that goes into the Kingdom of Matilda. The thing is, the Kingdom of Matilda is not a place you should be at very, very, very low levels. Matilda glitch is that you get to push this door all the way open and you can just go in. Now the thing is, you should not be here. You should not be here at this low level. But if you are able to get to the highway village, then you're gonna be golden. Because this game's assuming that, because the game's just oh, they're not gonna get here until they need to get here, so whatever. And so it's assuming that you've gone through all the story to get to that point when you're just at the beginning, baby. And here you can get Humphrey and Futch, both characters who were in Suikoden 1. Humphrey is a tank, so you can recruit you might not recruit them immediately, but you can get them, and this is where you can level farm. And I tend to do this every time I replay because I just like level farming. I like being at really high levels. I like being over leveled. But the thing is, in the remaster, they took this glitch out because the remaster is really based off of the PSP remaster that came out many years ago, only for Japan. And so not only can you run diagonally, right, but they also took out all the glitches, or most of the glitches, if not all. And so the Matilda glitch being one of them. And so we are unfortunately unable to push this door open in the remaster and level farm. RIP. It's also another way to get Joey to high enough level to be able to see more of his runes. We travel around, we go to Toto Village where we see Pilika, this adorable girl who found Joey and her family nursed Joey back to health. She's just like, hey, Uncle Joey, can you do this favor for me? and it's to go to Muse, get this amulet for her dad as a birthday present. And it's like, yeah, we'll do that for you, Pilika. And so we got to Muse. And okay, here's another thing to farm. So if you're gonna play this game, farm for Fury runes. And when I say farm, I really mean hope for the best. So Fury rune is really good because I too am always anger. The Fury runes are actually super helpful. It is essentially the Berserk state in most games. It's a rare find in the rune shop in Muse, and you're gonna want to pay attention to rare finds because rare finds can give us a lot of important things, a lot of special things like the Fury rune. But the thing is that you want to save right before you check any rare find because it changes every 30 minutes in game. And so the availability will change. But if you exit out and then reload back into the game, then it'll also change. And so you want to do that before checking, because if you check, then the timer will start from there. It's like, okay, well, you checked, so it's gotta be 30 minutes until it changes again. But if you save before and then check, then you could just reload and go back in. But you want Fury runes because it makes your character strong as hell. This is the only time early game, or pretty much all game, that you can get Fury runes. You can get a Fury rune with the Guardian Deity if you want to spend it on that, but you can also get one Fury rune at the literal end of the game, which is a long ways away. So this is the opportunity to get Fury runes. Now, I'm not saying to try to get Fury runes, like 6 of them. I aim for 4. I try to aim for 4 Fury runes in a playthrough, because realistically, I only really need 4 until the end game, which I can get 5. But then you can also get the Violence rune towards the end of also, which acts similarly to the Fury rune. But I usually aim for 4. I got 3 in the remastered playthrough, and then I got 1 from the Guardian Deity, which is still towards the end-ish. But when you get back to Toto, we see it is burned down. Poor Pilika saw her parents get slaughtered. We go back to mercenary camp. We find out, oh, Luca's gonna try to kill everyone. We find Sai, get the fire spears. We also see Ryu village get burned down. We're also introduced to Apple also, like, during this time. Apple's also from Suikoden 1. She's also in Suikoden 3. And Apple is a character who is really important in this game. She was not that important in Suikoden 1. She's relatively there in Suikoden 3, if that makes sense. But Suikoden 2 is when she is important as a character. Yeah, she is a strategist. She studied under Matthew, who is the strategist in Suikoden 1. He's cool. Don't have a whole lot to say about him, honestly, other than I think he's pretty cool. But yeah, and we try to defend the mercenary camp. The mercenary camp gets destroyed also by Luca Blight. We save Pilika, and then we run away. And this is a cool sequence. So this is how like Suikoden 2 can change up for you depending on the playthrough, because so you're stuck with Joey and Nanami no matter what. But the other 3 party members of your team, of your party, can change depending on who you have recruited so far. So in the remastered playthrough, I believe I had Shiro, Hana, and Millie? No, I had Shiro, Rikimaru, and Hana. I don't remember who I had in my PlayStation original playthrough. I think Zamza was there, but I had Humphrey and Fletch after a while, so it didn't really matter. But it's cool, like you get to experience different characters, and sure, they might not be characters that you want to be using, but I think it's cool that they do this. So you're like, oh shit, we ran away with who we could, you know? And when we go back to Toto Village, this is where Ryo and Joey get their runes. So Joey gets the Black Sword rune, which design-wise, super sick. And then Ryo, our main character, gets the Bright Shield rune, which I also think the design's really cool. And yeah, and these are fragments of one of the 27 true runes. They are fragments of the rune of beginning, and they operate like opposite of each other. So the Black Sword runes are all about offense and attacking. Bright Shield rune is more about defense and healing, although it does have damage stuff too. And this pretty much relegates your character as a healer in a way, but like he doesn't have to be. He's a healer, but I love the Bright Shield rune so much, to the point that like I have considered tattooing that on my hand, which now I don't have it. Obviously, I don't have it tattooed, but I have considered it. But then the more I think about it more, it's like, do I want to tattoo the back of my hand? So if I were to get the Bright Shield rune, I don't know, I'd tattoo it somewhere else, like on my tit or something, I don't know. So I love to view Suikoden 2 in arcs. So I like to call this part the Mercenary arc. So this next arc, I like to call the Muse arc, because you're gonna try to get into Muse, and then you're spending a shit ton of time in Muse. Which again, perfect opportunity to farm for Fury runes. Also, let me talk about the mechanic of upgrading your weapons. So, you know, in most RPGs around this time, like you would buy new weapons and that's how you would get stronger. In the Suikoden series, you don't buy weapons, you sharpen your weapon. So you stick with the same weapon, not that you can change it, but you sharpen your weapon, and the levels of sharpness increases like depending on where you are to get your weapon sharpened. You can attach stuff to your weapons, which is gotta be hella helpful. I like this, but the thing is, it gets expensive by the end. But yeah, you're gonna spend a lot of money on sharpening your weapons, just so you know. We have the Muse arc, where like a lot of shit happens here, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to, but I'm gonna like briefly recap the different arcs. So after the Muse arc, I call it the North Window arc, where we get our castle arc. Because we do. So in Suikoden games, you typically have a base of operations, a headquarters. It's usually a castle of some sort, unless you're Suikoden 4 and you are a fleet of ships. But in Suikoden 2, we get a castle. You get to name your castle, and this is like where all your characters come together, and it's really fun to see. It's really fun to start seeing it like get bigger and get more populated as the game goes on, as you recruit more characters. Because your goal in this game is to consistently try to get to 108 stars. If you're like, wow, 108 characters, that's a lot. Some you get through the story, some you have to find. And they're easy to identify. Almost every character with a portrait that you're just finding out in the wild, typically a character you can recruit. And if you're ever confused, you do get a character named Richmond later, who is a detective, who he can also tell you how to recruit characters as well. Or we have the internet. We have the internet now. You could just look it up. You do want to really pay attention to your dialogue choices, because if you choose the wrong one, then you might miss characters forever. So just so you're aware of that. So we got our castle after we have to fight Necklord, who was also a villain in Suikoden 1. Our castle is in North Window, or formerly North Window, which is where Victor's from, but it was like pretty much a ghost town. After that, I call the next arc after that the Two River arc, because we go to Two River, which is a really cool city that is divided into like 3 different sections. They're segregated by race. I'm not even joking. We have the kobolds. So kobolds in this game typically look like dog people, but there are nay kobolds that were in Suikoden 4, which are cat people. The kobolds in the game look like dogs. And so kobolds, we have wingers, which are just people with wings on their back, and then we have humans, which are just your standard human. There are different races in the Suikoden world. We know that there are elves and dwarves from Suikoden 1. There are mer people in Suikoden 4. There's beaver people, duck people, lizard people. And I'm talking about like humanoid races too. This isn't even talking about like the beasts that you can use, like Shiro, or Feather, or Siegfried, and I choose to ignore the squids. So, and the flying squirrels, I love the flying squirrels so much. They're so cute. But yeah, the Two River arc is fun because like it's like our first grand mission. Totally forgot to mention this. During our castle arc, we get our strategist. He's such a pivotal character. How the fuck did I forget mentioning him? His name's Shu. He is an asshole, but like he is an effective asshole, if that makes sense. He is incredibly smart. And this is actually when I first started noticing the difference between the original translation and localization and the one for the remaster. And I'm not saying the one for the remaster is bad or anything, because let's be real, the original one has a lot of mistranslations, a lot of typos, and all that stuff, which adds to its older charm, you know what I mean? And so, but in the remaster, they do change some of the dialogue stuff here and there. In the original, a lot of people call Rio Lord Rio. In the remaster, they call him Commander Rio, which is like not that big of a difference. And so I was like, okay, cool. But when we recruit Shu, there is something that is said that he says to Apple, because Shu and Apple were disciples of Matthew together. Shu got expelled because Shu was a little too... He was an asshole. I like the delivery in the original more here versus the one in the remaster. Because in the remaster, he says, I may have inherited Matthew's talent, but you inherited his resolve. And he's talking to Apple. And like, oh, that's sounds fine. But in the original localization, I think the line just hits better, where he says, I may have inherited his brain, but you inherited his heart. I like that so much more. I like, maybe it's just like the simplicity of the words, but I just like saying you inherited his heart to Apple. I like that way more. I think that line hits harder versus you inherited his resolve. I was like, yeah, but doesn't hit us. There's just something about saying, Apple, you inherited Matthew's heart, you know, like that, something about that just hits so much more to me. Especially after, like, you know what happens to Matthew in Suikoden 1, so, because spoilers, I'm not gonna say it. I do prefer the delivery, or at least like the lines, the translation in the original versus the remaster in this aspect. And there's a few of those in the game, and they're not like big problems to me or anything, like not at all. It's just stuff I've noticed. Two River Arc is fun. It's relatively short, like, and Suikoden 2 is a relatively short game, but all things considered. So remember to recruit people, like visit all the places. And there's also like periods of time where you're like, okay, here's the main story stuff. After the story stuff's done, let me go try to see if there are people to recruit. Or before a story thing happens, let's see if there's some people to recruit. After Two River, we have the Green Hill arc, which is the Academy's school days arc. This arc is, it's good, but there's one glaring problem I have with it, and it's Nina. I don't like Nina. I've never really liked Nina that much. I like using her in battle with Flick because I like the Unite attack damage, but I don't like Nina. Even as a kid, I was just like, why is she, who's like 16 years old, I think canonically she's 16, trying to get with an adult man in the form of Flick? And Flick is like, I'm not interested in children. And then she's just so persistent, and it's just so annoying. I fucking hate this shit. It's so annoying. In anime, in games, I legitimately hate it when a character is like, I'm not interested, and people are like, I'm gonna take that as a challenge. It's like, no, they said no. No means no. And it's so annoying. And also, okay, and this is my problem with Victor. He's just like, flirting with kids. And I'm like, Victor, we don't joke about that. We don't joke about that, Victor. Shut the fuck up, Victor. We don't joke about that shit. Not in this economy. Not in this economy. Anyway, so the Green Hill arc is really cool because it introduces us to Teresa, who is the acting mayor of Green Hill, and she is somewhat of a symbol, and she's trying to be a martyr, and her whole town's just like, don't do it. We don't want you to die, bitch. Go with the fucking army. Go with the alliance. We'll be fine. We'll wait for you. She literally is like, I am willing to die if it means that my people will be safe. And her people are like, hey, yo, we appreciate that. But the thing is, they're not going to be nice to us after they capture you. They're going to still be rude to us. And so I just think that's so funny to me. And Teresa's like, I'll be back, my people. And they're like, bet. I actually really like Teresa as a character. Like, her as a character is really, really cool in my opinion. Now, the characters that you get throughout the game, some are playable, some are opening shops, and some are just there. Some will have mini games, or some will have some utility like Richmond and Taki or Tetsu. But yeah, and I think it's fun that for you to every so often just walk around your castle, see like what's new, see if there's new characters and stuff like that, new establishments, and like also mini games. So Suikoden 2 has a lot of mini games in my opinion. It has whack-a-mole, which I hate. It has a dancing game, which is alright. It's like a memory game. There's Chinchirorin, which is a fucking classic and a favorite of mine. I use it for D&D actually. If my players want to gamble, I use Chinchirorin as one of the gambling games. And the most popular minigame is Suikoden 2, the cooking minigame. So you have to try to find Hayo first, and then once you get Hayo, you can trigger the mini games. And it doesn't trigger every time you visit him. It triggers like almost like every half hour or so. So if you like check back every so often, you're gonna trigger it. I love the cooking minigame, but I also hate the cooking minigame. Because the thing is, it's like with the cooking minigame, sometimes it just doesn't make sense of like why people like the way they like, but it's fine. There's like a whole list and everything like that. I don't bother to look at it. I just go with the flow. But the cooking minigame's fun. Like, you don't really do a whole lot. You choose items. So you have to choose appetizer, main course, dessert. And you choose whatever recipes you have available. And you'll get recipes if you visit shops or talk to certain NPCs. They'll give you recipes that you can give to Hi-Yo, which you can use to cook with. And also use them in these competitions. And when you choose an item, you can also choose like spices. It's sugar, salt, soy sauce, mayonnaise, and red pepper, the spices of life. But if you choose those, it can change what you're doing. So for example, a cake, if you add mayonnaise to that, it turns into cheesecake. The cooking minigame is fun because it has its own story. There's its own fucking storyline with Hi-Yo at the center of it, being like, he's being hunted by the group. They always call it the group. We also see some characters from Suikoden 1. In Suikoden 1, there's 2 chefs you can recruit. Not that there's cooking minigames in those, they just exist. Antonio and Lester. And this is something I'm gonna talk about real quick, is like, with the remaster, I was really hoping that characters in Suikoden 1 would get their portraits. And even if it's the same one they used in the Suikoden 1 part of the remaster, I was hoping they'd get their portraits, because in the original, they didn't have portraits, which I was like, okay, cool. But like in the remaster, I was like, oh man, they don't have portraits. Come on. And it's not just Antonio and Lester. We see this later on too. I was hoping they would give them portraits at the very least, but they don't. But we also get to see a character named Retso. Retso is a character from Suikoden 5, actually. And so he debuted here, and then he showed up in Suikoden 5. There's a character named Shunmin that is mentioned quite a bit in this storyline because Hi-Yo and Shunmin were lovers. Shunmin died to get the Bird Moon recipe that Hi-Yo has taken and is hiding with it, and then that's what the group is trying to hunt after. And Shunmin dies. But Shunmin, also a character in Suikoden 5, because Suikoden 5 is a prequel. So Suikoden 2 takes place 3 years after Suikoden 1. But Suikoden 5, I think, takes place at least like 10 years? 10-ish years, I believe. At least, before Suikoden 2. And so, Shunmin's dead. Retso, we get to see Retso. And Retso looks different. Like, in Suikoden 5, he looks different to how he looks here. But yeah, we see him. We go through a lot of competitions. I believe there's 12 cook-offs altogether. And it has its own storyline. I'm not going to spoil it. But it even has its own end credit. Like... And that's how much they dedicated to this cooking minigame story. I don't know. I think it's fun. But yeah, so there's stuff to do in your castle. You could take a bath at Tetsu's, which I personally really love to just like... Anytime I need to go do something while I'm playing the game, I just like go to the bath and just set it there. Because you can unlock more baths, like styles, as you play through the game. I think it's dependent on how many characters you've recruited. But there's like one last one that you can get if you visit the jungle bath 20 times. After Green Hill, I believe it is the path to Matilda that you have to go through. Yeah, you have to go through the path to Matilda, which I wouldn't call that its own arc. I think that's just like a prelude, like interlude arc, where like, oh cool, like we see Matilda, we go to Muse again, see what the fuck is happening there. And then after that, we get to go visit a place called Banner Village because we are trying to go to Gregminster. And that means a lot to people who have played Suikoden 1. So Gregminster is the place that you start off in Suikoden 1. It is your home city. It is also the city you end with in Suikoden 1. You start there and you end there. And it means a lot to people who play Suikoden 1 because you get to visit. And now, this is something I love seeing in any sort of sequels of games, and it's being able to see what happens after the events of the previous game. Like, listen, if I ever do the Fire Emblem Tellius video, which I want to do it, then I will talk about it a little bit more. But in here, we get to see a little bit of the aftermath after Suikoden 1, because we get to see some characters, which, again, I wish they had portraits. Varkas, you're not a blank slate to me. But, yeah, like, we get to see Suikoden 1 characters. Not all of them have portraits, and not all of them are, like, gonna say anything grand. Gregminster is part of the Tauren Republic. President Lepant is here. Also, Suikoden 1, he's not orange anymore, which is amazing. But yeah, President Lepant, he is like, why do you want to work with us? Because you understand the Scarlet Moon Empire, which is the empire before it was called the Tauren Republic. Scarlet Moon Empire has attacked the city-state many a time. Are you sure? And we're just like, yeah, bitch, we know you're not the same. And they're like, yeah, you're right, we're not the same. And this is like one of the choices of characters you can make, where between Valeria and Kasumi, you get to choose who you want to take with you. And I usually opt to get Kasumi because I like ninjas. Ninjas are just my thing. And like in some playthroughs, if I choose not to use Mondo, I use Kasumi. So I think one playthrough I chose Valeria and it felt wrong. It felt very wrong to me. Ever since I was a kid, I always chose Kasumi. And I used Kasumi a lot in Suikoden 1, so I would use her in Suikoden 2 more had they not changed her from a long range to a short range person. I usually choose Kasumi, and we get Kasumi, we go back, and then on the way back, I get Mondo and Sasuke in Rokaku Village, which is a hidden place. So you just have to find it. It's not that hard. Also, you're gonna get really familiar with this this forest between Banner Village and Gregminster. You're gonna get really familiar with it. After Gregminster, we are kind of preparing for a big fight with Luca. And the thing is, so this is one of the things that I think is super cool about Suikoden 2, is that there are things that can change depending on what happens, right? And so what I mean by that is, like, so this is the best example of this. So in the so there's this war battle that happens. I haven't talked about war battles yet, but I'll talk about it here real quick. So war battles are like these tactical RPG-esque type of battles. They're not super in depth, but they're also like, it's hard to gauge like if you will win a battle or not. Like it's just kind of hard to gauge. And so you have units. You have the commander, and then you can add 2 units to each group. And some units add stats, some add abilities, some add both, some add nothing. You just control them, move them around. I find that any like rune abilities that do damage on the overworld, on the map, are the best. Like the fire spears, Luke's magic, Mazes' magic at the end, Jean's magic. Those tend to be the best. But there is the game-breaking George Prime, who fucking will destroy. But let me talk about this particular war battle, because this was really cool. So Ridley, who is one of the generals of Two River, he's a kobold. He's the kobold commander, and he was on a mission, and he gets pretty much surrounded. We try to go get him. So in this war battle, it starts off with Ridley literally by himself, like with a bunch of Highland people, right? This is really cool because there are 2 different outcomes and 2 ways the story plays out a little bit subsequently or following after this. That changes just a little slightly depending on what happens. Because in the original, when I played the original, because the likelihood of Ridley getting his unit destroyed is high. Like it's very likely he will get destroyed, because it's just him surrounded by people. And so, yeah, in the original, he did go down. And typically when a unit goes down, that's bad, because your characters can actually permanently die in these war battles. So just be aware of that. They'll have like a normal like wounded quote and then it says, oh, they were wounded or injured in battle. That's fine. But if it says they died in battle, and because their lines will change. They'll be like, I can't die here. And it's like, they died. It's like, fuck. So you have to restart the fucking war battle so they don't die. Because you need all 108 stars to get the good ending. But so usually is a bad thing. But I've played this game more than enough times to know, oh, Ridley more than likely will go down here. And that's okay. But in the remaster, not only did Ridley, this motherfucker by himself crit 3 times in a row, destroying 3 units in a row. I was able to get my army and him to meet, and he's just like, thank you for rescuing me. And then the story went on from there. So we have this diverging sequence here for a little bit where like in the original playthrough I had, Ridley got captured and is most likely going to be put to death in the Highland army. In the remaster, he's fine. We rescued him, so we don't have to worry about that. And so it's like, oh, we're good. But then like, it's like, okay, because me knowing what happens next, because in the original, what happened is that, okay, Mondo and Sasuke, if you recruited them, will go get Ridley. They'll go rescue Ridley and then bring him back to the castle and things are fine. It's like, oh, Ridley didn't die. Thank God. So, and we get to see him again. Oh, and Ridley comes back with knowledge of like, they're planning on attacking and all the stuff. In the remaster, because Ridley didn't get captured, Leon Silverberg, who has been a tactician of the Highland army, comes to our castle and is just like, this is our plan, take it for what you want, and then leaves. It's just like, what the fuck. Leon Silverberg was also in Suikoden 1. He is also very much an asshole, and this is just preluding one of my favorite boss fights in all of gaming, the triple boss fight with Luca Blight. I love this boss fight. It's just so fun. So in the original, you can cheese it because there's a glitch. In the remaster, you can't cheese it anymore. In the original, you were able to kind of cheese this boss fight because, so in this triple boss fight with Luca Blight, you have to set 3 different groups. One led by Flick, one led by Victor, one led by Rio. And the more important one to make sure that is set correctly and lives through the fight, because you have to actually beat Luca Blight, is Rio's group. Victor and Flick, they don't need to survive their boss fight, or they can just run the timeout and then it'll move on. Rio's is important. The thing is, in the original, you can cheese it because there's a glitch in which if you put Rio, I think like on like any of the back row with all the characters around him, and then when she's like, hey, choose your group, you choose no one and just leave Rio by himself, he'll still be in the back, which means in the fight with Luca Blight, it's just Rio, but he's in the back and Luca can't hit the back like at all if there's no target in the front. So you could choose this fight and just have Rio just do auto attacks the whole time and win. But in the remaster, they obviously took the glitch out, and so you actually have to try, which is fine. So again, you still want Rio's group to be at least the strongest group, and Flick and Victor's group don't necessarily need to win. And then we have to duel Luca Blight. And I haven't talked about duels either, so let me talk about duels. Duels are just these one-on-one fights that just Rio, I think, in Suikoden 2. Yeah, because in Suikoden 1, Pawn gets the duel. But in Suikoden 2, it's just Rio that duels. And it's just these one-on-one fights where you have to read the dialogue and then choose to attack, defend, or special attack. There's a whole like rock, paper, scissors system there. Attack beats defense, defense beats special attack, and special attack beats attack. So the dialogue, to me, sometimes very confusing. Because so many people are like, oh, it's so obvious. The dialogue choices are so obvious. And I'm like, no, they're not. Not to me, at least. I think I just read too much into it. And so I'm like, is it obvious? Or am I just stupid? And it's very likely the latter. So we have the Tinto arc, I like to call it. This is the vampire arc. This is the Necklord arc. So we get to fight Necklord again here. He's pretty much taken over the whole region of Tinto. And Tinto has the best music over for their towns. It's honestly one of my favorite songs in the soundtrack. It's just so fun. And they used it for Suikoden 2. The intro for Suikoden 2. I'm just saying. And so I love it. I love Tinto. Like the music. The arc in itself is fun because it's just like more of like these undead stuff, and this is also where a pretty important choice happens and can diverge things a lot more. So it centralizes around Ridley again, actually. So very early on in this arc, Nanami will be like, hey, no, actually, I'm just gonna say it. What if we just ran away from this all? I'm so sick of fighting. Because Nanami, like, this whole time, Nanami's just been so tired of fighting. She doesn't like seeing Rio fight or be in danger. Especially the fact that he's fighting someone that they both care about. And so what if we, and she's like, what if we just stopped and ran away? What if we just ran away and like just stop fighting, you know? And you have the choice as Rio here to be like, okay, yeah, let's go, or no, they need me here. And I did both. And so in the original, I chose to run away with Nanami, which is something I actually choose to do pretty often when I play through Suikoden 2. Not because I don't like Ridley, it's because I want to use Flick. Flick is not available as a party member at this point, and I don't know why. I don't understand why. Why don't they ever let me use Flick? So in the original, I ran away with Nanami. In the remastered, I chose not to. Because, I mean, after the display of him critting 3 Highland Army like people, I could not let him die. I'm just like, it's my due diligence. I need to keep this motherfucker alive. Anyway, so if you run away with Nanami, you kind of get caught, but then like you run away again, and you successfully do run away. But Rio, he starts like, he faints, Nanami carries him, which is like this really sweet sequence, because like throughout this game, we like Nanami's Rio's older adopted sister, right? And so she's just like, I'll take care of you, you're my younger brother, like I'm going to take care of you. Like it's just like it's very elder sister like energy that I appreciate seeing. You're found by George Prime, who is a character I mentioned briefly before, but George Prime, he was in Suikoden 5. I think he's fucking awesome. He's so cool. In this sequence, we talk to George gets a lot more dialogue, like not exponentially more, like double the amount he gets normally, but yeah, we get to see him talking. He's just like talking about stuff that like at the time of Suikoden 2, we have no idea what he's talking about. He's just like like you have to have resolve, you have to see things through, you have to fight for what you believe in, all this stuff, like really strong resolve. And he's just like, there's a woman that like I was entrusted to protect, and I couldn't do that. And I'm like, because me now I'm like, oh, ow, George, what the fuck? But at the time I was like, ooh, I wonder what this means. Like when I was younger, I was like, ooh, what does this mean? Who's George? He sounds cool, he sounds sick. George is in Suikoden 5. He's a really important character in Suikoden 5. God, I love Suikoden 5. Suikoden 5 is so good. But then you run away, Rio faints again, and him and Nanami are found by Shu and Flick. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot to mention this. So when you run away, 2 of your party members that you chose to come with to Tinto will come with you. And I think it's typically the 2 characters that you have been using the longest, or like you have used the most. For me, it's typically Ulan, because I use Ulan as soon as I get her. And then Mondo or Killy, typically. Anyway, they come with you, and then you're found by Shu and Flick, and Shu's just like, report came in as people were trying to find you because they didn't know you 2 ran away. Ridley died. And it's like, oh fuck. So if you run away, Ridley will die. And you get another choice here, where like you can choose to continue running away with Nanami, which will give you a bad ending, or you can continue on. And he's just like, I'm so sorry, I will return. And a Shu fucking slaps you. Shu slaps Rio. And it's like, oh, but also deserved. It is. And I like that. And the reason why I like this choice here is because it does allow your character, it allows Rio to have flaws. It allows him to be this character that is not flawless. And I like that. I like that a lot. I like the fact that like we have the agency to make Rio into a character that's like doubting. And like so many people, look up to him, but he's just like, I'm a child, man. Like I'm a kid. And because he is a kid still. And you get to go back and you do the whole sequence as if it's normal. We also get to meet Sierra, who is one of my favorite characters in Suikoden 2. She plays a much bigger role in Suikoden, but she's cool. She's a vampire lady. Also gonna say, this is probably the first time I mentioned this, but I probably should have mentioned it earlier. In the remaster, they redid all the portraits for the most part, and some of them look great. Some of them are more of a miss. Sierra's is a bit of a miss. I don't know what exactly it is about the remaster portrait of Sierra, but it just doesn't have the same like mystique as Sierra in the original, like the portrait. I don't know how to explain it. So we find Sierra. We also have Khan, who is back. Khan was helping us with the whole Necklord stuff earlier on when we were getting our castle. But in the sequence in which you didn't choose to run away, Nanami was like, just kidding. I didn't really mean it. You're so important to the army. Duh. You would never consider it. Which I think is so funny. As someone who knows, oh my god, Nanami, you so mental, you bitch. So if you choose not to run away, you still go through a pretty big sequence of like Tinto being overrun. And we find out more about Sierra, and you have a boss fight with Sierra because she's like, "Oh, let me test your resolve, humans." I love Sierra so much. We fight Necklord, and we actually get to kill him once and for all here, because when we saw him earlier, he ran away. In Suikoden 1, we fought him, but he didn't die, because I think they play it off as like, oh, it was a doppelganger of his, so not really him. So it's like, well, fuck. And Sierra's, I love Sierra in this sequence because she's just like, you better give me back my fucking rune, you bitch. Because Necklord stole the moon rune from Sierra and her village, and so Sierra gets it back. And something I wish that we could see is Sierra actually using the rune, but we don't, which is unfortunate. But we see her, and then she's just like, all right, now kill him if you want. And he's like, wait, what the fuck? Necklord's like, what do you mean? And we get to kill Necklord, and Necklord's song, one of the best songs. I love the song. Gothic Necklord, so fucking good. And that's pretty much the whole Tinto arc. After Tinto, it's the Liberation arc, is what I call it. So we have to get Green Hill back, which has pretty cool sequences there. And then we also get Matilda. And this is important. This whole Matilda part, right? Again, I don't want to spoil anything because, again, people can play this for the first time. But, like, let's just say you need to make sure armor for all your characters, especially Nanami, should be pretty high up there. I'm just saying. But after Liberation arc is the final arc. So we finally get to the final dungeon and final fight and everything like that. And the final boss fight. Which I typically roll with my team of, obviously Rio is stuck with you. My team, I usually have Flick, Ulan, Mondo, or Kasumi. I usually go with Mondo now, just because I like Mondo. Sierra, and then my 6th slot is usually McDole or Tyr. So, if you don't know who Tyr or McDole is, he is the main character in Suikoden 1. And so one of the things that you get when you transfer your save data over is a side quest, like a mini quest, of being able to see McDole again, work with him, and he becomes playable for you. And which is why I said, like, you're gonna get pretty familiar with the forest between Banner Village and Greybminster, because you have to go through it every time you want to try to get Tyr on your team. But yeah, like, there's this whole mini quest that you can do where you get McDole or Tyr or McDole, whatever. Tyr McDole, that's his whole name. And it's really cool. And every time you play through it, if you bring a character who was in Suikoden 1, you get different dialogue choices. So, for example, in the remaster, I brought Flick with me, and he's like, hey, bro, we did survive at the end of Suikoden 1. Stupid Victor. But let me tell you who this guy is. Meanwhile, in the original, I brought Kasumi with me, and she's like, oh my god, master, like, this is Rio. Kasumi has a crush on Tyr, just so you know. And we get to see a little bit more of that, because, like, after you do the mini quest, you get to hang out at the McDole estate, which you see Cleo and Pawn, which, again, I wish they had portraits, but they don't. But there's a sequence in, like, if you bring Kasumi with you, she talks with Tyr. And she's just like, hey, like, I know you've been gone for a while. A lot of things have changed. Kuromimi is like the chief of the kobolds. Kirkus is the leader of the elves. And it's just like this really sweet sequence. And and she's like, and I'm trying to be a good vice chief. It's like, oh, my heart. But if Kasumi's not with you, then usually we see Tyr helping with Gremio, and that's, yeah. But it's a really cool sequence. I love seeing shit like this. Like, Suikoden 2 has the best save file transfer that comes into the game from Suikoden 1. So that's just like a little mini thing, guys. And I usually have McDole on my end team because he's really good as Soul Eater Rune. Strong. Soul Eater Rune's so strong. And McDole's just a generally pretty good character to have. But if I don't have McDole, then Reno. I sometimes will put Reno on my team. I don't know. That's usually my end team. Let me know yours if you played through the game. And then after the final fight, you kind of get to choose your ending. If you got all 108 stars, then remember to go back to a certain place. You get the true ending. If you immediately go to the war room, the Great Hall, I think that's what they call it, then you get a different ending. You get the normal ending, I think that's pretty much what it's called. And so, yeah. So your endings can change depending. And I think that's nice. I like the option. And I don't know, I just love it. I love this game. And that's just like my very abridged retelling of the overall story of the game. I didn't want to detail anything because the remaster just came out. And so, while normally I would be like, you've had the opportunity to play this, I'm just going to spoil it. Because the remaster came out, new people can get to play it. And so, I want them to experience what I experienced for the first time. And I don't want to take that away from anyone. And so, that's something I deeply appreciate about this game, is that, like, no matter how many times I replay this game, because again, I replay this game at least once annually. I'm not even joking when I say that. I usually replay this game at least once a year, and I don't get tired of it. Like, just for this video to get footage, I replayed the game twice. And as soon as I started the remaster, I was just like, I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop. You'd think I'd be tired of it, but I'm not. And I'm so glad I played it again. I love this game so much. I love Suikoden 2 so much because from the story, from the characters, and just like the aesthetic and everything, love it. Oh my god. Because like the original looks great. I like sprites a lot. I think sprites are just honestly very timeless. And the remaster makes things look prettier, sharper, and crisper, but things do also look a little odd. Like this, like the cutscenes with like the 3D. They did not update that necessarily. They still use the very polygonal shapes, which I think is kind of funny. In battles, characters have unite attacks, which are attacks typically between 2 or more characters. So like you'll use the best friend attack all the time at the beginning, and then you'll use the family attack all the time when you have Nanami with you. You will, because it's strong. And I'm not gonna lie, the remaster, especially with the family attack, does not hit as hard. Because there was something so fun about the original where the music just cuts off when you're doing the family attack. But in the remaster, the music doesn't cut off. It just goes, and I was like, doesn't hit as hard. Something that I do appreciate that the remaster does, other than the graphical upgrades of things for the most part, because it's not exactly HD 2D like Octopath Traveler. It looks good, but like it's not on par of Octopath Traveler, if I'm being totally honest. I still think it looks good though. But something I do really appreciate from the remaster though is in battles, you can speed up battles, which I know can really help with the grind of things and like just make battles go by that much faster. In the original, like battles already go by fast because you can just do the auto option. You don't have to choose all the time. But in the remaster, you can do auto and it'll just like keep going like that until you choose to stop. Oh, and you can also speed up battles by going like twice speed and then thrice the speed, which I think is really nice. You get thrice the speed later on though. You don't get it immediately. You just get double speed. This game is good. I really like the remaster for what it brought to the table. And I don't know. There's just some stuff about it though. Like again, mostly dialogue that just doesn't hit as hard. There are a bunch of secrets in Suikoden 2. One secrets is the flying squirrels. So you get Muku Muku, who's the only squirrel that's a star. But you can get 4 other squirrels that are not stars. So we have Muku Muku, the red guy. He's the leader of the group, of course, Power Rangers. Power Ranger logic, right? We have Maku Maku, Meku Meku, Miku Miku, and Moku Moku. Aha! I love them. I love the squirrels so much. They're so cute. They are adorable. And in the remaster, I got them far faster than I ever have playing the original version. And I don't know, it's because I just like discovered a new trick or anything where like I enter a town, run up and down like the specific paths to find the squirrels, and then if I don't find them in like 2 or 3 goes of something, or like a fight or something, I re-enter a town and then exit and then keep going. Because I found these squirrels in like 10 minutes, where I remember spending hours trying to find these goddamn squirrels. So the fact that I only found them in like 10 minutes, wild. Another secret in the game that I didn't do in the remaster, but I do plan to do it when I replay through the game, which I am tempted to replay through again already, is Clive's quest. Clive is trying to find Eliza, who we see very early on in Muse. This quest is kind of like a speedrun quest, because you have to like get to certain places with Clive in your party in like a certain amount of hours, and so it's like a speedrun. So you gotta go quick. So you can't be me who's telling you to farm for things. Clive's quest is pretty much saying, can't farm, you just gotta keep playing. Oh, there's the guardian deity. It's not necessarily secret, but like so throughout the game you're gonna get like these plans. It'll be like dragon plans number 2 or unicorn plans number 4, and these plans are used to create your guardian deity. There's 4 plans for 4 different animals. There's dragon, unicorn, turtle, and rabbit. And depending on the combination on like how you assemble them, you'll get an item or money from them. And it only works the one time. Look up what you want, or look up the list of what is possible, and then try to get that. Do not just assemble it randomly. Guardian deity is a really minor thing. There's some funny dialogue choices there, or funny dialogue that you can get from it. But you also get some good items, or you can potentially get some good items. There's no new game plus, which is what is interesting to me, because you can get the fortune rune, which can double your experience on whoever it's equipped. Your guardian deity you're only really gonna get it towards the end of the game, so the fortune rune's not gonna be that helpful. Furthermore, if there's no new game plus, there's no reason to get a fortune rune if you're not trying to grind at the beginning. I'm just saying, not really worth it. But guardian deity, but yeah. It's just, again, it's good to kind of run around your castle, see what's new. You're going to get characters that can change sound effects, which I never use. Connell, you're kind of useless. And then you also can change like the window or the frame of the dialogue stuff. Also don't really use that. Tenko, also, you're kind of useless. You can do fishing. That's another mini game you can get. Oh, there's a telescope that you can look through. Not that it does much, it's just you can see your castle. It's just fun to see the environments, and then just seeing your characters kind of exist like in different places. It's just fun. Sometimes you'll catch performances, like you'll get Gengen and Gabocha. You'll get a performance from Annalie, Alberto, and Pico. Oh my god, let me talk about this too. So in the original was glitched and bugged to high hell, because when you're trying to get Annalie in the original, very likely she makes no sounds. What a wonderful voice you have. But in the remaster, they fixed all the bugs, so Annalie actually has a voice, and so it's actually nice to hear what she's singing when you first meet her with her. There was a bug that happened when I played a lot as a kid. It hasn't really happened since, where some characters, when you recruit them, they're at level 99 for some reason. Hoy, Pesmerga, George. I think it's just those 3. I think it's just those 3 that typically are level 99 when I was a kid. And I don't know what causes the bug, but it happened every so often. I was like, what the fuck? This is weird. Oh, it's important to kind of do the Pokemon thing of like interacting with almost every object, because you can get special items. There are 2 pretty powerful runes you can attach to weapons. One being the kindness rune, the other one being the friendship rune. They both pretty much up the damage depending on whatever you use. Friendship rune ups your weapon's damage the more characters you've recruited. The kindness rune ups the damage depending on how long that character has been in battle. So I typically put kindness on Rio and then friendship on Ulan, just because they're the 2 earliest characters that I tend to use all the time. What else can I say without spoiling too much? Suikoden 2 has had a lot of like kind of like spin-off stuff. So I've mentioned it a couple times of Suikoden, which was like a visual novel. It follows Nash, who is a very background, behind the scenes character throughout the whole story of Suikoden 2. But in Suikoden Volume 1 and 2, we get to see what he's up to. He's very involved with Sierra. He is also a playable character in Suikoden 3. So I think that's a pretty fun link. There's also Genso Suikoden Card Stories, which is like a card game that was on the Game Boy Advance. Sorry, I had to run downstairs to get my drink. I've been waiting for this all day. So Suikoden 2, again, story-wise, amazing. It's a game that has such good storytelling. It really utilizes everything it has in order to tell the story, because it's a story that's very bittersweet. And something I've really noticed about myself recently is I really like bittersweet stories. Rio, to this very day, still is my favorite Suikoden main character. I like Tyr, don't get me wrong, but I don't rank him that high between the 5 mainline main characters. I'm saying mainline because like I know there are there's other Suikoden games like Tyr and Webs of Woven Time or something like that. There was one for the PSP that was Japan only, so I never got to play it. Tyr, I mildly enjoyed it. I don't really remember it that well, so I can't really critique it too much. And then if we want to include Aiden Chronicles, which I did really like, Noah's actually pretty cool. So I actually have to give props to Noah. But I love Rio so much. Rio's just so fucking cool. Tonfas are just a sick fucking weapon. I love his design. It's simple but effective. My runner-up favorite main character is Freyador from Suikoden 5. So let me talk about like some hopes I have for the Suikoden series moving forward, right? Because not only did we get the remaster and we're getting an anime for Suikoden 2, we're also getting Suikoden Star Leap, which is the mobile game that's going to be coming out. So it's confirmed that it takes place between 5 and 1, which means there gives a lot of rise for characters that were in Suikoden 2 to be in the game. Like we know Flick, Humphrey, Victor, Vicky are all in the game. Jean's very likely to be in the game because if you have Vicky, you have to have Jean. Vicky and Jean are 2 characters that have been in every single Suikoden game. Mainline. They've been in every mainline Suikoden game. And so it'd be weird if they weren't in Starleap, especially since Starleap has its own 108 characters. And I don't know. So that'd be cool. And like not that Odessa played a big part in Suikoden 2 like at all. Like she wasn't even in Suikoden 2 other than being a weapon name. But if Odessa gets to play a part in Starleap, I would love that because I personally really like Odessa a lot. My original girl boss. I love her. And so I think Odessa would be really cool if she's in the game. Oh, I think Geno, the big turtle guy in Suikoden 5 was also in the trailer. So I don't know. I think it gives a lot of rise for characters to be in the game. Like what if we learn more about Hans and Genkaku? Oh my god, I haven't mentioned Grandpa Genkaku at all this whole video. Grandpa Genkaku is the man who adopted Rio and Nanami and trained them how to fight, and it's adorable. He dies before the game starts, but so much of the game people are like, you're Genkaku's kid, aren't you? And Rio's just like, yeah. Nanami's like, how the fuck do you know about our grandpa? Because like Nanami and Rio have no idea anything about their grandpa. And so, but it turns out Genkaku was like a hero. He was like the hero of the city-state. Then he was branded as a traitor, and it's a whole thing. And so they're saying there's a lot of parallels between Genkaku and Han Cunningham, who is a character that you have a duel with later on in the game. Han and Genkaku were besties, but then they were driven apart due to politics. Like truly, it was because of politics. I would also love to see George. I want to see more Sindar stuff, so more Killy, Lorelei, maybe Zweig or Zweig, however the fuck you pronounce his name. It's very commonly known, especially in the Suikoden community, that Suikoden 2 is typically regarded as the best one. And there's a lot of reason for that. There's the story, the gameplay. Like, I feel like they really brought things together in Suikoden 2. Like, it's definitely an upgrade from Suikoden 1. And especially after playing the remaster, because I don't play Suikoden 1 often, but like going from Suikoden 1 to Suikoden 2, I'm like, oh my god. 3 rune slots per character. Wild. But there's a shared inventory in Suikoden 2. Wonderful. Like, so it's a huge upgrade. And then it's funny because like Suikoden 3, like I personally don't hate it as much as most other people do, but it was a bit of a downgrade, right? Where like characters were like in like 3 mini separate squads, and you can only do 1 rune action per squad, and it was like this whole thing. So I was like, ooh. And then Suikoden 4 was just like, what the fuck did you guys do? Why are you guys doing this? What the hell? Because like you get to have 6 party members in every other Suikoden game. But Suikoden 4 is just like, you get 4. It's like, what the fuck? And then Suikoden 5 really brought it all together. So, and the thing is, gameplay-wise, war battle-wise, and duel-wise, like, Suikoden 5 honestly clears. Like, I think Suikoden 5, if we were talking about gameplay and everything like that, Suikoden 5 really built off of Suikoden 2. Not really Suikoden 3, not Suikoden 4, Suikoden 2. Which is the reason why I like Suikoden 5 a lot. Story-wise, I actually do love the story of Suikoden 5 also. It's so fucking cool. I based a whole D&D campaign off of that. But Suikoden 2's story is just like, hits so much closer to me. Maybe it's nostalgia, I don't know, but I really appreciate the story of Suikoden 2. The story of Suikoden 1's not bad either. I actually enjoy it quite a bit. Suikoden 4's story is alright, it's decent. Suikoden 3's story, I actually really enjoy it. It's just the way it was told to us was not the greatest. I don't mind the whole Trinity site thing. I don't mind that at all. I actually think that's really cool. I love seeing different perspectives of different events. But I think like, it was just really weird. I don't know how to explain it. If you play Suikoden 3, I think you might know what I mean. But Suikoden 2 is just like a more streamlined but like really good story. It really held up. And it still holds up to now, in my opinion. Character variety wise, I like Suikoden 2's cast. I like Suikoden 2's cast a whole hell of a lot, with 5 being a runner-up. It's very common for anyone who's talking about Suikoden. I love 2 and 5. 2 and 5 are my favorite ones by far. I just love the character varieties for both games. And I guess Suikoden 5 really built off of Suikoden 2. And it calls back to Suikoden 2 a lot. And Suikoden 1 actually. Even Konami, the company that owns Suikoden, knows Suikoden 2 is like the sweet spot, right? Like Aiden Chronicles, right? Which is a game that was made by a lot of former Konami and Suikoden members. Like, we're really capitalizing off of Suikoden 2. Like, they're like Noah's design calls back to Ryo more than I think it calls back to any other protagonist. Maybe a little bit of Tyr. But then like the whole storyline with Sign, right, is a callback to Joey. Marissa's her own thing, which I appreciate. I love Marissa so much. Yeah, the whole like friendship between Noah and Sign, that's very much a callback to Ryo and Joey. And not that I mind. I'm like, I understand why, because Suikoden 2 is the most popular one. And it's just so good. It's just so good. But would I call this game the perfect game? No. No game is perfect. Every game has a flaw. But the thing is, to me, it's a masterpiece. I love Suikoden 2 so much. To me, it's a masterpiece of a game. There's a reason why I can replay it literally once a year. Because I just enjoy it that much. I don't mind going through the story over and over again. I don't mind getting emotional at the parts in which I get emotional at every time over and over again, because it's a game that's so masterful in storytelling, tone setting. Oh my god, because the music is just so good. Like when the music kicks in certain parts of the game, it's just like, oh my heart, ooh, it's hitting really hard. And it's a game that just like matters so much to me. It matters so much to me in a way that's like slightly embarrassing to admit, but like also like very truthful to who I am. I don't know. It's a game that just does so much for me. It does everything for me. I love to see these characters. I love seeing these characters. I don't know. Like there's just like a fun nostalgic whimsy, I guess, that kind of fuels me every time I replay the game. And like this is why I'm so glad we got the remaster, because I can play it with like, and it looks super pretty, and I really appreciate that. There's just no glitches in that one that I can abuse, unfortunately, which is okay. Ideally, what I wish in my perfect world, I would have actually really liked to have Suikoden 2 ported and like maybe upgraded graphic wise when the 3DS was a thing, because I think that if utilizing the 3D function of the 3DS with Suikoden 2 would have looked fucking awesome. That would have looked sick. But alas, the 3DS is long dead as a system for people to develop for. But in my ideal world, that would have been the thing. It's a game that really opened my eyes to how a game can really do storytelling and how a game can really set up such a wonderful world. And I don't know, I think like there's just so much that this game offered for the whole series, right? Because Suikoden 3 is a sequel to Suikoden 2, and we see a lot of Suikoden 2 characters in 3. We get a lot of callbacks. I would think like one of the save data things that transfers over that you can get is like a play of Necklord, like a Necklord play. So I think that's interesting. Suikoden 4 is a prequel, and that takes place like thousands of years before Suikoden 1. And then Suikoden 5 takes place before Suikoden 1, but not as far as Suikoden 4. And so, but like the reason why I'm mentioning this is because like we hear about the island nations. Amada, who is a character you can recruit in Suikoden 2, is from the island nations. Because like something that I've kind of noticed as like the games kept going on is that they really try to build off of things that are mentioned in the previous game. Like in Suikoden 2 to Suikoden 3, we find out about the grasslands and Zexen, right? And we briefly know about Zexen because of Gilbert, because he's from there and he has a wife and a son that live in Zexen. And one of the main places in Suikoden 3 is Zexen. We also know about Grasslands because Lucia, who is an antagonist in Suikoden 2, is a character in Suikoden 3. She's Hugo's mom. She's Hugo's mom, and we get to know more about the Grasslands. And I think that's pretty cool. I think that's fucking sick. But then like this whole thing of like mentioning stuff that happens in the previous game kind of deviates from Suikoden 3 to 4, because we go from like one extreme of the timeline to the other extreme, because Suikoden 3 is still the furthest in the future that the series has been at, and then we get to Suikoden 4, which is like all the way at the beginning. And so it's like, okay. And then Suikoden 5 talks about the island nations a whole hell of a lot. And then like I'm also really like kind of invigorated to play Suikoden 3 and 5. Not excited to play 4. I don't love 4. I don't hate it that much, but I don't love it. 4 is very much the black sheep of the Suikoden mainline games, and for good reason. Like Suikoden 4 could be better. A tale of fate, friendship, and betrayal. Wait, hold up. Did they all say no? Okay. Which I mean, that is true. The only reason why I would want to revisit Suikoden 4 is for 3 characters. 1, Ted. I love Ted. Oh my god, when I played the remaster and went through Suikoden 1, when I saw Ted, I was like, oh my god, my boy, it means so much to see you again. I love Ted. He is in Suikoden 4, if you did not know that. He is not like a main character, but he's a character. Also Kika. I love Kika, my pirate queen. I love her. And Jean, because she's first playable in this game. Oh my god. But other than that, I don't have the desire to replay 4 that much. I do like the opening song though, La Mer, really good. Suikoden 3 though. So again, I know Suikoden 3 is a bit seen as like kind of an odd one too as well. But I actually really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed Suikoden 3. I'm just scared I'm gonna get, not bored, but like I'm gonna hate how slow it is. And so, but I love Chris, my girl Chris right there. Oh my god, I love her. This bad bitch. I love Suikoden 3's story, honestly. I just don't think it was told effectively, if that makes sense. Like, if you like take it as like what it is and what happens, it's really good. But if you go about how it was told to us, kind of too fragmented. So that's kind of like my problem with Suikoden 3's story. Other than that though, I do really like a lot of the characters in Suikoden 3. In Suikoden 2, when you get Humphrey and Futch, they find a dragon named Bright, or Futch names it Bright, and you get to see Bright as a big adult dragon in Suikoden 3, and I love it. I love it so much. I love Bright. Bright's so cute. And Suikoden 5. I really like Suikoden 5 so fucking much. It is honestly such a fun RPG. My only problem with it is that not only is it long And that's not really a problem, but like it's, how do I say this? The beginning takes forever, if that and like not to the point of like Persona syndrome, because Persona syndrome is like the beginning takes forever because it's just exposition after exposition and just getting there. What I mean is that you don't get to really have so much agency until hours in. Other than that, I love the characters in this game. I love this game overall. But in Suikoden 1, I replayed it for the remaster, and that was great. It's fun re-seeing. Like, the thing with the remaster is that it was like seeing old friends for the first time in a long time. And it was just fun to see that again. Suikoden 2 especially, even though, again, so within like a week period, I replayed Suikoden 2 twice, right? And that's not a brag. That's honestly kind of sad. But it's a game that, like, God, it's just such a good reminder of me of like, man, good storytelling, good gameplay, solid. Like, and that's really, and like good soundtrack, so good. And so I just really like Suikoden 2. Killy and Sheena are the most broken characters in the game. So there's a game-breaking combo that I'll let you guys know. I never use it because I'm like, I don't really want to use these characters. Other than Killy, I actually really like Killy a lot, but I don't use them a whole lot anymore. I used to use them a lot as a kid. But there's a game-breaking thing where Sheena and Killy are able to get 3 open rune slots. Not every character can open all 3 runes. And they're all malleable. They don't have anything like permanently affixed to them. And so the game breaking thing is Fury rune, double beat / double jab rune, and double strike / double edge rune. I'm saying slash because they rename them in the remaster. With that combo, Killy is able to beat the final boss in one go, in one round. Like, that's how broken that combo is. You also have to have the right equipment. You want to put a bunch of Fire Emblems on them, which is so funny that Fire Emblem is an equipable item because I've been trying to do a Fire Emblem video. I haven't had the motivation to do it, even though I had the motivation to do this video so quickly. I'll do the Fire Emblem video. I want to. I love the Tellia series. I'll get to it. So yeah, that's the game-breaking combo for Sheena, Killy. I think Hayo can also utilize that. And Chaco. So if you really want to break the game, you can do that. I don't really use those characters. I literally use characters because I like them, not because like they're broken or anything like that. Oh, there's like a whole trade system where you can like, the whole point is to like buy low, sell high. I hate this shit. I hate the trade, but you have to make at least 50,000 potch in profit in order to get a star. So the easiest way I found to do this is in the Kobold Village. There is a trade store there. Save before you go there. Save before you go there because it's similar to Rare Finds. This very similar to Rare Finds. Save before you go there, and then they usually sell. Well, not usually. They can sell ancient texts for like minimum of like 480 potch, which is not much. And then you can go to the Forest Village and sell those ancient texts for like 23,000. And yeah, so do that. It's the easiest way I found it. Just if the ancient texts aren't available, just reload back up the game. You're fine. Another way to kind of make the profit as well is if you're able to get like 3 Celadon urns, because I think now Lebrante is one of the characters you can recruit, and he wants the Celadon urn. To recruit him, in the original, he just needs to see the Celadon urn and he'll join you, and you get to keep the Celadon urn. In the remaster, I think he takes it. So if you're able to get like 2 or 3 of the Celadon urns and then trade them when you get to Gregminster, I think you're able to make the profit as well. Celadon urns can be found from enemy drops or the I forgot to mention this minute. The rope climbing minigame at your castle. I forgot to mention this minigame earlier. I really like the rope climbing minigame. It's fun. It's just a dice game. I actually use it for D&D also. And it is a way to kind of get items if you want them. Not all of them are helpful. Some of them are bath items. Oh, let me talk about that too. Bath items. So there's some items that you put in your bath to decorate, or you can also, there's also equipable ones that you put on your personal characters and then they'll just like float with them. There's like rubber duckies or toy boats or whatever. They're just there for aesthetic. They don't do anything helpful. Baths are funny because you can get a couple of special scenes depending on the characters that you have. There's not a whole lot of scenes, honestly. I think there's really like 4. Let's see. And then item wise, if you place specific items in the bath, then you can get some special stuff. For example, if you have 6 Chinese plates, then Long Chan Chan and Wakaba will show up out of nowhere and just be like, hello. Oh, I want to cosplay as Rio one day. I'm like way older than Rio now, but he was like cosplay I've been wanting to do since like I was a kid, actually, like with the whole headband thing, because he looks like fucking Sun Wukong. Tonfas are fucking sick. Tonfas are cool. Like Tonfas are just like such a cool pen. It's just like I love the sprites. I love the sprite works. They're very expressive in my opinion. I think they're really fucking cool. They utilize sprites so well in this game. I love the sprites. I love the sound effects. Also, like there's hard mode in Suikoden 2, and I didn't find it any different than a normal playthrough. I think the enemies just did more damage, and that's about it. And even then, I was like, "This is hard mode." I don't know. It's just because I know the game well, and like I've beaten it so many times that I know the tricks to make it hard. I don't know. All I have to say is that it wasn't that hard for me, and that's not me bragging. That's just me being a loser who has played the game far too many times. All right, but man, I think that's really everything I need to talk about with Suikoden 2. I just love the game that much. I love the game that much. This is a relatively long video. I'm so sorry if you got here. Thanks for listening or watching. If you want, comment your favorite star of Destiny. Not the character, but an actual star name, like Tenkei or Tenkai star or Chisu star or Chibi star. Yeah. Do that. Claim a star. Claim a star. Thanks for listening and or watching. Wow. Again, I love this game so much. Please give it a chance if you haven't already. I know turn-based RPGs are not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. I think it's okay to try it out if you want to. Again, you can speed up battles in the remaster, which makes the grind that much quicker. I do see the complaint that a lot of people have when it comes to turn-based RPGs is like, oh, it takes so long. Suikoden, not that long. I understand where you're coming from when it comes to like Final Fantasy and Persona, because some of those battles can drag out for a really long time. But Suikoden, not so much. And even boss battles, I feel like, are not that long. And even if they feel that long, they can be sped up. But other than that, yeah, like I appreciate you being here. Thanks for hanging out, I guess. And until next time, to whatever the next video is, I don't know. Listen, I think I ran out of Marvel Rivals stuff to talk about, guys. Unless you guys have suggestions for Marvel Rivals stuff. But other than that, I will try to do the Fire Emblem video because I really want to. I have gameplay footage, so there's reason there. And so maybe I'll do the Fire Emblem video. But other than that, I just love Suikoden 2 so much. I'm so glad the remaster's here. I'm so glad we're getting an anime. Childhood fulfillment in that way, truly. And yeah, until next time, hope you guys try the game out if you want to give it a chance. But if not, I hope you have a good rest of your day and enjoy. Have a good one.